We're talking about the BRN-180 Gen 2 from Brownells, and this showed up as an upper, and then I've bolted a whole bunch of other stuff to it. So the reason that I sprung for this one is I've been trying for years to impress any number of firearms into service as a dedicated night rifle here at the channel, and I've been failing consistently. It either starts out really good and then dies a horrible death later, or didn't have everything that I wanted from the get-go, and then I just kind of end up swapping back out to my go-to, which is my personal SBR, and that thing's on its last legs. It needs completely rebuilt, and I just kind of limp it along, and I just haven't had time to ameliorate it. That said, after completing the eval on this one, I can confidently say that this is everything that I'm looking for in a night setup. Now, Brownells does offer viewers of this channel a discount code, and you can find that information listed over at the affiliates page wherever it is that is listed. To hop right into this thing, this is a piston-driven gun that is a 300 blackout, 10.5-inch. Well, that's cute. Well, I'm going to take this as a sign that I need to roll with the night vision content first because, well, I knew that they called for extreme thunderstorms tonight, but I didn't expect them to be that bad. And hopefully here soon the power come back on and we can roll with the full colored version. I don't know why those lights are still on. Last thing I need is for my truck battery to die while I'm out here. Fall on my face, fall on my face, fall on my face. Okay, so first things first, we're gonna look right here at the ejection port, because oftentimes with direct impingement guns, there's a little bit of fire that comes out of that. We're gonna see how this has been mitigated. Turn the laser off for this exercise. Let's see if we've got any signature. We get a tiny little bit, a fraction of what we expect out of, say, something like a regular AR-15. Wind's picking up, it's going to start thunderstorming again. So just so you guys can see what's going on here, let's turn the laser on. You can see that is clearly pointed well into the berm, even though the rifle is not technically in my custody. And I mean, minimal. Let's see if we can hit anything. All right, van. Van-sized targets are a go. You can see there's a piece of steel right there. That's good. This target's quartered away. I don't think I'm gonna be able to do that. We're gonna shoot this target, and it's quartered away. But if I miss, then I'm gonna hit the van behind it. So it's gonna sound good regardless, right? There it is. Now, I'm not entirely sure when this is airing in the video, but these are the first shots through the BRN-180. And what I'm going to be doing now is figuring out how the gas system works. So there's a little cutout here that you can reach the gas system, and you can reach the gas system with a live round if you do so choose, but I think that you ought to use a tool that's a little bit more suited to that, like one of these Allen keys. And there's a through hole there. You can basically just push that in there and spin it in whichever direction you want to go. So the first setting has an X on it. I'm gonna guess that X stands for off. Oop. Yep, going with off. So we're gonna call that off, and I bet you it did not eject. Sure enough. The next setting has a 1 on it. That feels pretty good. I'm going to guess that if we go up, our ejection pattern's ejecting into the bed of my truck over there, so I'm gonna guess that it's probably perfectly gassed on 1, but for the heck of it, we're gonna go up to 2, which is the next setting, and just see what that does. Yes, same thing. So that tells me that it's undergassed. So what we're gonna do now is change ammunition. That was subsonic 220 grain Fiocchi, 125 grain. Yeah, and that's perfectly gassed. It's landing in the same spot that the subsonic brass was landing. You can turn it off, you can turn it to subsonic, or you could turn it to supersonic. Or if you are using full powered ammunition, then I would say that setting 2 is probably normal, the X is off, and then 1 would be like adverse setting. Now this, as you see it, is not the final form of this firearm, and I'll have to do a follow-up when it is complete. There's some unused functionality as currently just constructed because I haven't finished the lower yet. Namely, this whole back half here is not required for operation because this is a piston gun. Basically, the way it works is there are 2 rods in there that the carrier floats on with the operating springs. So all of the operational components move in this distance here. You don't need the buffer tube or any of that sort of stuff. So since I haven't finished it yet, I figured what we would do is quickly discuss what it is, in my opinion, makes this quintessential night rifle. First and foremost, we need a relatively short barrel because we're going to trade some of that barrel weight for suppressor weight. We need the suppressor so we're not interfering with our night vision. And we also don't need a super long barrel because engagement distance is going to be limited by how far we can see through our equipment since we're going to be under night vision. So I would rather trade the weight in the barrel because we're going to suck up some of the other weight elsewhere. Night vision compatible optic for passive aiming, but the majority of our aiming is going to be done by our projected laser. This forward rail is solid. This is mounted with, count them, 8 bolts to the barrel nut. That thing is super rigid, and it also has a continuous rail across the top of it. It's not one of those crappy gun games skeletonized rail that's got the meat missing out of it. I know that they make the pick rail. I've tried it, okay? It doesn't work. You will eventually lose 0 on your aiming laser if you try to do that. Particularly for 300 blackout is the ability to adjust the gas system depending on which ammunition you're using. The other thing about an adjustable operating system like this is it's contingent on the condition of your firearm. And I don't mean did you clean it or whatever. I mean, you might be out under your night vision. If you've been doing it long enough, you'll know what I'm talking about. You might take a slip in the mud. You might fall into a snowdrift, or you might take a dip in the drink. So having the ability to adjust that to the adverse setting, if you end up in an adverse condition, might be nice. Along with that, the other thing that I believe is essential is the ability to battery assist this firearm. I don't care what propaganda you've been fed about the forward assist. Even if you've got like a focus ring like I do, depending on the lighting conditions, you may not be able to get enough IR light on what it is that you are working on and have the focus depth to be able to see what it is you're doing. So more than most likely, you're going to be doing it by feel. And the ability, if your firearm is not working, to battery assist it. I will show you this really quick. You can see that that charging handle is not all the way forward. There's a slight gap there. This gun would not fire right now if I were to pull the trigger. I'm not going to. But I'm not talking about smashing something into the breech that is not meant to be there. I'm talking about simply giving it a little bit of assistance forward so that in the event that it is muddy or icy or just waterlogged, I have at least a chance of getting it operating enough that it can mitigate itself after a couple rounds.